Township of Edison Zoning Board of Adjustment special meeting of April 30th, 2024 is now in session. Adequate notice of this meeting as required by the Open Public Meetings Act of 1975 has been provided by the annual notice published in the Home News and Tribune on December 18th, 2023, as posted in the main lobby of the municipal complex on December 18th, 2023. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Mr. O'Bara?
Here.
Mr. Bignell? Here. Ms. Shaw? Here. Mr. Ayotte?
Here.
Mr. Chabra?
Here.
Mr. Cerrito?
Here.
Mr. Patel?
Here.
Mr. Barone?
Here.
Mr. DeVay?
Here.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Here.
And Chairman Kumba?
Here. Thank you. Madam Secretary, minutes for consideration, please.
April 23rd, 2024, minutes for approval.
What's the board's pleasure?
Encouragement. Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Vice Chairman O'Gorman, second by Mr. Patel. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cerrito?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Chabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Barone?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Patel?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. DeVay?
Yes on the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes on the motion.
And Chairman Kumba?
Yes on the motion.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary, first resolution for consideration.
Z24, 2023, Lucky 7 Properties for approval.
What's the board's pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Chabra, seconded by Mr. Patel. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cerrito?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Chabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Barone?
Yes on the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes on the motion.
And Chairman Kumba?
Yes on the motion. Next case.
Z28, 2023, Chinoy Construction, LLC.
What's the board's pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Patel, seconded by Mr. Cerrito. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cerrito?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Chabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Barone?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Patel?
Yes on the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes on the motion.
And Chairman Kumba?
Yes on the motion. Next resolution for consideration.
Z2, 2024, Abhihit Gait.
What's the board's pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Patel, seconded by Mr. Chabra. Roll call, please.
Mr. Chabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Barone?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Patel?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. DeVay?
Yes on the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes on the motion.
And Chairman Kumba?
Yes on the motion. And the final resolution for consideration, please.
Z3, 2024, Taweed Center.
What's the
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Patel, seconded by Mr. Cerrito. Roll call, please.
Mr. Chabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Barone?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Patel?
Yes on the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes on the motion.
And Chairman Kumba?
Yes on the motion. Thank you, Madam Secretary.
Thank you.
We have four announcements for this evening. Case Z19, 2021, Route 27, Edison Chicken LLC at 2006 Route 27. It has been requested to carry to June 25th, 2024. If you are here for this case, Z19, 2021, Route 27, Chicken LLC, this case will not be heard this evening. It will be heard on June 25th, 2024. If you have received a notice with regard to this case, you will not receive another notice. This will serve as your notice. Case Z34, 2023, Mohammed Zubair at 106 James Street has requested to carry to June 25th, 2024. If you are here for this case, if you have received a notice, this will serve as your notice that this case will not be heard this evening. It will be heard on June 25th, 2024. Case Z41, 2023, Millbrook Village LLC at 97 Horizon Drive. They have requested to carry to May 14th, 2024. If you are here for this case, Z41, 2023, Millbrook Village LLC, it will not be heard this evening. It will be heard on May 14th, 2024. If you receive notice, you will not receive another notice. This will serve as your notice. Finally, case Z18, 2023, Vishkash Kumar at 267 Savoy Avenue. The case will be carrying to a later date and re-notice is required. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a special meeting of the Edison Township Zoning Board of Adjustment. This board is composed of Edison Township residents appointed by the municipal council who will volunteer their time in service to the board. The municipal land use law requires a member successfully complete a land use training course administered by the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs. This board holds in-house training conducted by our board professionals. The board abides by the provisions of municipal land use law in addition to our board's bylaws. The zoning board is a quasi-judicial land use board which differs from the township planning board. Under the municipal land use law, board members are required to be impartial and not allowed to discuss any case prior to its consideration before the board at a hearing. All applicants will have the opportunity to present their case before the board with the opportunity for board members and board professionals to question the applicant and their witnesses. At the conclusion of the applicant's presentation of their case, the case will be open to the public. Residents within 200 feet of the subject property will be heard, followed by residents from outside of 200 feet. All residents will be sworn in. They'll provide their name and address, and they will be given 6 minutes to comment on the application being considered without the opportunity for a rebuttal. Residents may ask questions of the applicant's professionals, and board professionals. The board requests that these questions are asked prior to any comments being made on the application. Once commentary begins, the resident's timer will begin. The applicant will be allowed for the opportunity for cross-examination of their witnesses. Under the law, the chair is allowed to stop any comment that is repetitive or is an attempt to filibuster the board. Further, the chair is allowed to stop any commentary that is irrelevant to the case or prohibited from the board's consideration. Once the public portion is closed, all public comment is ended unless new testimony is presented by the applicant. Following the closure of the public portion, the applicant will have the right of summation on their application. Following summation, the case will go to the board for a decision. This procedure has been followed by the board and is similar to the procedures followed by boards of adjustment statewide. The municipal land use law requires the board to engage in a balancing act and is not required to strictly apply township ordinances, zoning plan, or master plan. As a board of adjustment, variances are granted when appropriately necessary, following all legal considerations. As has been the case with prior boards, this board will see where we are if we are still in session around 10:30 p.m. I ask that all applicants, professionals, and residents show respect to each other and be civil throughout all proceedings. I ask that you withhold applause, booing, or interrupting of anyone while they are speaking. The chair will not tolerate any outbursts by applicants, professionals, or the public. Further, since most cases are being recorded by a court reporter, I ask that speakers do not speak over one another. That being said, Madam Secretary, first case on the agenda, please.
Case number Z32, 2023, Sanjay Thakur at 38 Jonathan Drive. Applicant is seeking bulk and use variances to construct a second-story addition to the existing single-family dwelling. The following standards have not been met. Max FAR permitted is 25%, proposed is 29%. Maximum lot coverage required is 15%, proposed is 17.1%. Maximum impervious coverage required is 30%, proposed is 33%. Affected property is located in the RA zone, designated as block number 546.17, lot number 18, on the Edison Township tax map. All noticing paperwork is in order.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name's John Sullivan. I'm an attorney with the offices of Vastola and Sullivan, and I am representing Sanjay Thakur tonight, who is the owner of the property located at 38 Jonathan Drive. That is an interior lot. It is located in the RA zone district, and it's currently improved with a single-family dwelling. The proposal before you tonight is to essentially on the first floor add a deck, a basement entryway, and an extension of the driveway. In addition, we want to add a second-level addition to the property, purpose of which is to increase the overall living area in the home. The plans that we have submitted to you tonight are the plot plan prepared by Heritage Madison Architecture, which is dated July 20th, 23, and along with that are our architectural floor plans and elevations. We've also submitted a survey prepared by DMC Associates, which is dated September 22nd of 2023. There are a few pre-existing variance conditions. Most notably is the lot area as well as a side yard setback. And there are several variances that we are requesting the board consider tonight. And those are for building coverage, impervious coverage, and floor area ratio. all of which, in our opinion, are driven to a large extent by the undersized nature of the lot. The witnesses we have tonight are the property owner, which is Sanjay Thacker. We have our architect, Mr. Nasser Al-Mukhtar, and our professional planner, Mr. Michael Pessolano. And if I may, I would begin with Mr. Thacker.
Mr. Sullivan, you could use the applicant's table, maybe more comfortable for you.
Sure. Okay, they're going to swear you in.
I can swear him in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give that this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. And your name, please?
Sanjay Thacker.
Okay. All right. Counsel, you may proceed.
Thank you. You are the owner of the property at 38 Jonathan Drive,
Yes.
and you've owned that since 2005,
Yes.
and you live there?
Yes.
Have you lived there the entire time since 2005?
Yes.
And who do you live there with?
With my wife and 2 kids.
And how old are your children?
Youngest one is 17 and the older one is 20.
And the property's currently improved with a single-family home,
Yes.
and that's a one-story home with an attached garage?
Yes.
And could you explain to the board the rooms that you have on this one floor of this home?
So it's a single-story ranch house with a 4-bedroom and a living room, a dining area, and a TV room, and or family room, 2 full bathrooms, and an unfinished basement and attached garage.
And is your basement a full basement, or is it part of that a crawl space?
It is a part crawl and half, I would say, crawl and half basement.
And you propose to construct an addition to expand the living area of the home by adding this second level?
Yes.
And essentially, you wanted to move not all of, but I think 3 out of the 4 bedrooms upstairs,
Yes.
and then expand the overall living area on the first floor.
Yes.
And can you explain to the board why you wish to do this?
So when we moved in the house, we only had 1 kid. It was only 3 years old, and we had a second kid. My parents from overseas come back and forth and stay with us for a long period of time. So we managed for this many years. But now the kid's grown up, one's in college, and I think we need bigger living space, as I don't see my kids moving out anytime soon. And we have a whole lot of social family gatherings, at least a few times a year. So we kind of thought we need more living space plus a bedroom space and extra bathrooms.
And it's your desire to be able to stay at this property rather than
Oh, yeah.
relocate?
Yeah, the plan is to stay for many, many years.
And as part of this, you also wish to add the deck, the basement entry to the rear, as well as replace the front steps?
Yes,
And we're also proposing a driveway turnaround in the front of the home, is that
right.
correct?
Right.
Can you explain to the board why you are proposing that?
So we have been living back and out of the driveway for many years, but I've noticed that the Jonathan Drive is one of the streets that really gets busy in the morning hour, as a lot of parents are flying through the street to go drop their kids off to JMI, which is right down the street at the end of the Jonathan Drive. And also there's a JP Stephen traffic in the morning. Now we have 4 drivers instead of 2 drivers, and all of us backing out, we kind of find it a little bit dangerous. So if we were to be able to head out of the driveway in a circular motion, I think it would be much safer.
And this type of arrangement, is it prevalent in the neighborhood, or would it be unusual?
Yes, few houses right on my street. There's a brand-new house, 33 Jonathan Drive. They just had the circular driveway. I see a lot of houses nearby on New Dover are all with a circular driveway. So I thought it was a good idea to do this, as it would be much safer.
Thank you. That's all I have for Mr. Thacker.
Does the board have any questions for Mr. Thacker? Seeing none. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we would call our architect. No, let your architect sit here.
Thank you.
Raise your right
Good
hand.
evening.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And please state your full name for the record.
Sure. First name is Nasser, last name is Al-Mukhtar, Nassir. Last name is Almukhtar.
Sir, can you please give us, the board, a brief summary of your qualifications?
So I'm a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey. I hold a current license in good standing. I've been licensed since 2004. I'm also licensed in New York and Pennsylvania. I have testified in front of numerous boards throughout the state of New Jersey and been accepted in all of them as an expert witness in the field of architecture.
Okay, and you'll keep your record going. We'll accept you. You may
Thank you,
proceed.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, you're familiar with the site as well as the application that we've submitted to the board,
Yes,
and you prepared the plans that we've submitted.
that's correct.
Could you describe to the board the home as it currently exists?
Sure. So as mentioned before, it's an existing one-story ranch-style house. I would estimate it to be around 60 years old. When I visited the house initially about a couple of years ago, no work was done to the house since it was built initially. I don't think the existing conditions of the house do correspond with the modern lifestyle. Mr. Sanjay's Thakker's kids have grown. They have different requirements. Their bedrooms are small, living room is small. So they would like to have a bigger space to respond to their needs currently.
And could you describe what's proposed? Maybe perhaps begin with the floor plans and then move on to the elevations and give the board an idea as to the
Absolutely.
treatment on the elevations.
Sure. So the second page, which is D01, this depicts the existing condition of the basement. As mentioned, we have approximately half a basement, and then the portion that's in the middle of the drawing, that's a crawl space, and then we have the garage to the right. So for the basement, the scope of work would be to dig down the existing crawl space and have a larger basement. I would explain the proposed plan in a little bit. So they can have a larger basement for their gatherings, for their family gatherings. It would be an open floor plan basement. Obviously, with these changes, we have to cut out the walls, dig it down in order to provide enough headroom clearance for that crawl space and do new footings. The existing first floor D02, that's on the third page. Most of the first floor would be demolished in order to provide an open floor plan. The portion to the right is a two-car garage. That would remain the same. And then all the way to the left, we have the 4 bedrooms. They're all small bedrooms, 11'8". The larger one is about 11 feet by 15, which is really a small bedroom in today's standards. And then we have in the middle is the living space. All of them are narrow spaces, not enough to put furniture and also for their usage. So we're demolishing most of the first floor, obviously, if this would be approved this evening. I should mention also that the gypboard is open currently. When I went there and visited the house, the framing is really strange. They framed it in a strange way. Definitely, it does not respond to today's codes and standards. The ceiling is all 2x6s, which is much less than the required in today's codes. So the house definitely needs major rehabilitation there. And based on the needs that Mr. Thacker mentioned, I think it's a good opportunity to expand and build the new house. So on the third page, the architectural A01, this depicts the basement. As you can see, the basement is an open floor plan. There would be half a bathroom there. The mechanical room would be isolated, so they would have a nice open space for their functions, if need be. A02 depicts the first floor. You would go into an entryway that is double height, and there's a staircase leading up to the second floor there. There's a guest closet, and then there's one bedroom there for his in-laws and for his parents. And then towards the rear, facing the backyard, there would be a nice open floor concept for a great room that's open to the kitchen and then overlooking the backyard. He has a good-sized backyard that he would like to take advantage of the views there. And we're also proposing to have a deck there with a sliding door that goes from the great room out to the deck there. We're also proposing to have an entrance to the basement from the backyard. The garage is going to remain the same. And then there's an entryway from the garage to a mudroom, and that leads to the pantry/laundry room, and that opens to the kitchen. So it would be easily accessible, very functional in terms of bringing groceries or what have you from the garage to the mudroom to the kitchen. A03 depicts on the top left corner as the proposed second floor. You go up to the stairs. There's a small open space, we called it the rec area, that oversees the entrance, the double height entryway. On the right side, there's the master bedroom with a walk-in closet and a bathroom. And then to the left side, there's 2 bedrooms. Each one would have its own bathroom and closets. I think it's worth mentioning that we do have 4 bedrooms currently. They're small, as I mentioned, and we're not increasing the number of bedrooms. We're just making it bigger and more comfortable for modern-day living. The first page has the front elevation. Currently, it's all one siding, one color. The exterior siding is very old. It definitely needs work. The roof needs work. So with this proposed addition and rehabilitation, we would have some stone facing. We would have some stucco and siding. And we would have the entrance almost in the middle, and on both sides of the entryway would be the couple gable roofs to give it that dynamic. Currently, it's just one horizontal line for the roof line. So we are providing some dynamic, some aesthetic, and a lot of improvement over what's there currently.
And with regard to the finish on the front facade, it would be the stone at the lower portion?
Correct, stone and then siding, and then with stucco combination.
Now, we had identified some new variances that were being created as part of this. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about those. So in terms of the building coverage, can you just explain to the board what the increase is over what is permitted in the zoning district?
It's only 3% over, I don't have it in square footages currently handy, but it's permitted is 30%, and we're proposing 33%. We're also, I'm sorry, we're not increasing actually the footprint. We're going up on top of the existing first floor. The only addition is that a small entrance in the back to the basement.
And by my calculations, that would be 315 square feet by which we exceed the ordinance requirement.
I would say.
And with regard to the impervious coverage, our calculations show that we would exceed the ordinance, what's permitted by ordinance, by 450 square feet.
Yes, sir.
And then with regard to the floor area ratio, I believe we would exceed what's permitted by ordinance by 600 square feet. Is that correct?
Yes, 0.04. So 4%, basically.
Thank you. That's all I have for Mr. Al-Mukhtar.
Does the board have any questions for Mr. Al-Mukhtar?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Chabra?
a question for the architect. I do see some stationary stairs going up to the attic.
Yes.
Do we have intentions of finishing the attic?
I'm not sure, but he wanted easy access. Initially, we had a pull-down ladder, but he said it's difficult for him to use that.
Okay.
But the attic is 7 feet, so it's not, by code, it's not habitable space, if that's the question.
Okay, because we have stationary stairs, so I would expect an attic plan. Right now, the way the roof plan shows, it looks like there's a rooftop, the way the plans are showing.
Yeah, we didn't show it because, like I mentioned, it's not a habitable space. So,
Regardless, if there's stationary stairs, we would request that we see the attic plan, any furnishing, outlets, anything that's going to go up there.
yeah, I'm not sure, but maybe Mr. Thacker can explain further what he intends to do in the attic. My understanding is that it's going to be storage only, so.
Okay.
But it would be easier for him to go up the stairs rather than a pull-down ladder.
Okay.
For storage purposes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair?
Vice Chairman?
Yes. Looking at the basement,
Yes.
is there going to be any bedrooms or in the basement?
No bedrooms, no.
Any kitchens?
No. Just a half a bathroom when they are down
Thank
in the
you.
basement.
Thank you.
Sure.
I have a question. So with regard to the basement, you had testified there's going to be a basement entrance.
Correct.
Is the basement entrance existing, or is this going to something that's going to be created?
It's going to be created.
So previously, the board has not looked favorably on basement entrances because, I mean, whereas I understand the convenience of it, that it could be accessible from the yard, it could very easily be construed as kind of develop into a living space, and that's not something that, you know, is being proposed.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we're certainly not proposing that as living space. Perhaps I can bring Mr. Thacker back up. Mr. Thacker, with regard to the basement, what do you propose to use that for?
We have
If
gatherings.
you need to bring the microphone closer.
Okay. We have usually gatherings and birthday parties and, anniversary and Diwali and Christmas parties in a basement. So we generally get a whole group of 15 to 20 to 30 people together. They all usually come in our culture, we remove the shoes and everything outside the house, and there's a lot of mess in front of the house. And kids bring their own high school and college friends, to hang out with at the house. So we thought an entry outside the house would give them the privacy and give them that liberty to go in and out without coming through the house all the time. Well, I don't plan to make any bedrooms or we don't plan to make any living space in the basement.
And would you agree to a condition that the basement not be used for
I'm okay with
bedrooms or
that.
kitchens or other living
Yeah,
area?
no, we're okay with that.
And then what is your plan with regard to the attic?
Attic is something where we can store a lot of things, and I thought climbing up the ladder all the time with, bags and suitcase, or if there was any service equipment there. I would prefer a solid stairs, but if I'm not allowed, then I'm okay.
Okay, I would leave that up to the board.
And would you agree to a condition that the attic would not be used as living space? It would just be for storage?
No.
What's your answer?
I would agree to not
Okay.
use it for it.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, so it will not be conditional space, right? It's not a conditioned space, no air conditioning, no heating,
there's
nothing.
no air conditioning there.
Just the storage, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Thacker or Mr. Al-Mukhtar? Okay, seeing none. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Next would be Michael Pesolano. He's our planner.
Sir, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your full name for the record.
Sure. It's Michael J. Pesolano. That's spelled P-E-S-S-O-L-A-N-O. Licensed professional planner at State of New Jersey. License still in good standing. I'm not quite a frequent flyer here yet, but I've made a few appearances before this board and previously accepted as an expert planning witness.
We'll accept you. If you just bring the microphone a little closer to you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
My license remains in good standing.
That's good to hear. Thank you so much. We'll accept you.
Thank you.
Mr. Pesolano, you're familiar with the site the area and this proposal before the board?
Yes, by virtue of my personal investigation of all of those.
And I see that you have a planning exhibit, is that correct?
I do.
Perhaps we can get that marked as A1, and if you can describe what that is to the board, and then get into a description of the site and the area.
Okay, why don't we first distribute the bundle so everybody has them while I'm making my description, and then I can take it from there.
And you could hand those to our secretary. She'll distribute them.
I'm going to mark this packet as A1. It consists of 4 sheets. I just want to confirm you want the entire packet marked as A1. The entire packet you'd like marked as A1, consisting of 4 sheets, correct?
Yes, please.
Okay, very briefly, this is a planning exhibit intended to share with the board and all interested parties what I considered in my planning analysis for the application now before the board. Sheet 1 is simply an excerpt from the township tax map showing the subject property in a yellow shade, generally in the center and lying within the RA residential zone. North is to the top of the sheet. Going on to page 2 of 4 of A1 is an aerial image downloaded from an online source showing approximate property lines, and again, the subject property shown in the center with a solid yellow border. I also canvassed the surrounding area when I did my site inspection and noticed that all the surrounding homes are single-family detached homes. There's also a high-voltage electric transmission line to the immediate rear of the subject property. Moving on to ground photos taken by myself on sheet 3 of 4. Image 1 is in the upper left. I apologize for the dark coloration there, but this is the existing single-family home with 2-car garage. It speaks for itself. Image 2 is the home immediately to the north. In other words, in image 1, it would be the home to the left. In image 3 in the lower left corner is the home to the south, so it would be the home to the right of the image in image 1. Directly across the street, the style of development is captured in image 4. And then finally on sheet 4 of 4 in image 5, the existing spacing to the neighbor to the north will be maintained. We're looking here easterly from the sidewalk of Jonathan Drive. On the other side of the existing home, we see a similar spacing arrangement, and that is looking easterly from across Jonathan Drive. And then just a couple of photos of newer homes in the neighborhood. Image 7, a recently upgraded 2-story dwelling at 25 Jonathan Drive, and a nearby recently rebuilt and expanded 2-story dwelling at 31 Jonathan Drive. While this image cuts off the circular nature of the driveway, there is indeed a circular driveway there. The image in image 8, if you look on the aerial on sheet 2, that is the home with the red roof in the lower, off the last one before Jonathan Drive goes off the page there, and you can see the circular driveway configuration quite plainly there. So that information provided the footing for my planning analysis. We need 3 elements of relief. One is of a use nature, a D4 variance for excess floor area ratio. The square footage involved is roughly 600 square feet, as earlier testimony indicated. We also need building coverage and impervious coverage relief. The lot itself is a developed, undersized lot. Only 3/4 of the total lot area that's now required in the RA zone. The requirement is 20,000. This lot has 15,000 square feet. You heard what the proposal is, so I'm not going to reiterate that unless you want me to. I did take a look at the history of this neighborhood. I looked at the master plan and its evolution to see if things are still the evolution. Okay. Am I going too fast?
No.
Okay.
Just someone coughed. I didn't hear.
Okay. The master plan for this area is quite definitely to continue the single-family detached pattern. We're embracing that with a continuation of a single-family detached dwelling. Although the lot area changed, the requirement that is to a bigger area, the homes on this side of on the same side of Jonathan Drive as the subject property, all were left without any more than their original square footage. So this lot suffers from that condition. But as I evaluated from house to house to house, on both sides of the street, you couldn't tell that they had different lot areas. It's quite obvious that the homes were consistent with each other. And I represent to you that after this proposal, I don't see there would be a significant change in the appearance of the dwelling as embellished with the second floor from its neighboring properties, neighboring homes. I noted, excuse me, that in the 2011 Master Plan Reexamination Report, there's a recommendation in there to reduce zoning impediments to property maintenance and upgrades. As I circle the area and a wider area around Jonathan Drive, I noticed many homes undergoing upgrades in the immediate neighborhood and the neighborhood farther out from the immediate neighborhood. Due to the age of the dwellings in this area of the township, it makes sense that there would be an ongoing trend of upgrades. So this upgrade is designed to fit in with the character without being over the top in terms of size relationships relative to other homes. For the D4 variance, the standard of review was developed in the Randolph Town Center case, which took the lead from Coventry versus Westwood, which calls for zoning boards to consider if the site can accommodate the detriments associated with the excess FAR. So we have a permitted use here that doesn't need to be proven, but can the site accommodate any of the problems that might be associated with 600 additional square feet? So as to the positive criteria to address that question, I find that the site will retain the ample yard areas it has had since 1967. No expansion of the footprint is proposed. The site has more than adequate parking, 6 parking spaces, more technically if the circular driveway is constructed. The project will stay within the height limit. Adequate utilities and waste management are available to support the proposed expansion. There's no measurable impact as to any change in the intensity of use. The same family of 4 will live there, just better housed. The increased impervious area will be addressed by strike that. The site, I find, can indeed accommodate any problems from the additional 600 or so square feet of floor area. Other special reasons in support of this D variance, I believe the general welfare, which is purpose A of the municipal land use law, promotion of the general welfare, that would be advanced very definitely by adequately housing an existing family in renovated, safe, sanitary, and code-compliant adequate living facilities. Purpose Purpose C is advanced to provide for adequate light, air, and open space. Purpose I is also advanced to promote a desirable visual environment. This upgrade will very definitely be a positive, have a positive impact rather than a negative one in the immediate neighborhood. And purpose M is advanced, the efficient use of land, that is. That's promoted here by virtue of retaining a longstanding resident family in their existing property. As to the negative criteria, I see no detriment of a substantial nature, not even one of a minor nature. The impact is largely visual, but the impact, as I mentioned, will be positive and stimulate neighborhood reinvestment by other property owners, as specifically encouraged by the Master Plan Reexamination Report of 2011. Comparable and compatible with 31 Jonathan Drive, which exhibits a newer dwelling of similar bulk and scale. That is a two-story home which replaced a one-story ranch in 2021. While that lot may have a larger lot area, the visual impact, I find, would be virtually identical to what is proposed at 38 Jonathan. As to the impact on the zone plan, we have an undersized site. And the zone plan now encourages larger sites when you can get them, but there's no opportunity to expand this site beyond its 15,000 square foot limits. So it is what it is. I want to point out, though, that there would be no variance relief for the FAR if this lot had the required 20,000 square feet of area. The lot is, or the development proposal is holding the existing setbacks on all sides and is conforming as to height. So it's not affecting the development pattern on the ground, in my opinion, which has been long-standing there and it was at one time compliant. There's no substantial impact on the purpose and intent of the FAR regulation due to the visual harmony and neighborhood upgrade that will result. So I find that the project clearly satisfies the D4 criteria in full. As to the other relief, the bulk relief, we have slightly increased building and impervious coverage. I find that they meet both the C1 and the C2 tests. Only one is needed to pass. The C1 hardship applies to this home because it's a hardship due to the physical features of the lot preventing conformance rather than the scope of the project. The home is being expanded vertically, so the new floor area does not increase the building coverage. However, the new circular driveway is a reasonable and permitted improvement for managing vehicles on site and a very good idea based on what the applicant indicated with his experience with traffic on Jonathan Drive in the morning. The 25% less lot area and the coverage of the existing dwelling lawfully on the lot make it a hardship to include this would make it a hardship to not be able to include this common driveway treatment. Sorry there. As to the C2 test, this is necessary relief for an overall beneficial project on a specific piece of property. The purposes of zoning that I cited from the municipal land use law in my D4 analysis, carry forth into the weighing analysis under C2. And the public benefits, of course, carry forth into the equation, the benefit side of the equation. So to me, the absence of any detriment, but instead positive improvement to the neighborhood, supports my finding that the benefits of the application as a whole substantially outweigh any detriments. Thus, the C2 balancing test is satisfied as well. So in conclusion, the application represents a very positive upgrade consistent with the master plan goal of encouraging preservation of and upgrades within existing residential neighborhoods. The application meets all criteria for granting relief. The applicant has demonstrated a willingness to work with the board's requests, and I submit to you respectfully your approval is indeed warranted. Thank you.
Does the board have any, excuse me, does the board have any questions for Mr. Pessolano? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That concludes our witness and evidence presentation.
Okay, thank you, counsel. All right, so we will now go out to the public. Anyone within 200 feet of subject site wanting to be heard. If you're within 200 feet of the subject site, you have received a notice via certified mail. Seeing none. Anyone outside of 200 feet wanting to be heard? Seeing none.
Motion to close public session.
Second.
Motion made by Vice Chairman O'Gorman, seconded by Mr. Patel. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The public portion is now closed. Council, do you have any summation before we go to the board?
Just very briefly, we feel that the application proposes an appropriate use of this site. I'm not going to repeat Mr. Pesolano's testimony, but there's certainly an aesthetic upgrade here. We're taking an older housing stock and bringing it up to current standards. I think there was testimony about the kind of the trend in the neighborhood. There's a lot of other recently built two-family homes there. So I think overall, it's going to certainly be an aesthetic upgrade, and it's not going to be out of character with the neighborhood. I do believe the hardship does stem from the undersized nature of the lot, and I agree with Mr. Pesolano in terms of that the benefits clearly outweigh any detriments here. With regard to the circular driveway, Mr. Thacker did testify as to the reasons for that, and I think that makes sense, creates safety, not having to back out onto a busy road. And we noticed that there are a few other homes in the area that have the circular drive, which seems to be more of a trend these days. So with all of that said, and not to belabor the point any further, we would ask that you consider granting the application with the conditions that we noted.
Thank you very much, and we'll now go to the board.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Dave.
I make a motion to approve the application. The applicant has met all the negative and positive criteria. The site is particularly suited for the use intended. The use is not detriment to the public good or public safety as appropriate. This motion will incorporate all of the testimony of the applicant, attorney, planners, engineers, and member of the board, as well as it incorporate the following conditions as testified to. The basement has a separate entrance in case in future if applicant decide to add the bathroom or kitchen or use as an apartment, we'll have to come back to this board for a new approval. The attic has as a permanent stair. The space is not going to be a habitable space, and it will not be a conditioned space.
Motion made by Mr. Dave.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Barone. Roll call, please.
Mr. Chopra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Cerrito?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Barone?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Patel?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. DeVay?
Yes to the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes on the motion.
And Chairman Kamba?
Yes on the motion. 7-0, this case is approved. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Tissue?
But you don't have the peanuts for that? No peanuts?
I have this.
Madam Secretary, next case on the agenda, please.
Case number Z11, 2024. Nikpambai Patel, 28 Timber Road. Applicant is seeking bulk variances to construct a deck in the rear yard of the existing single-family dwelling. The following standards have not been met. Maximum deck lot coverage required is 3%, proposed is 5.7%. Rear yard setback required is 60 feet, proposed is 38 feet. Affected property is located in the RA zone, designated as block number 643, lot number 89 on the Edison Township tax map. All noticing paperwork is in order.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Sir, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your full name for the record.
Nipunbhai Patel.
Okay, and I see you have a professional with you, so I'm going to ask him to raise his right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And please state your full name for the record.
Yes, Paul J. Fletcher.
And Mr. Fletcher, you're here almost as often as I am, but if you could please just give us a brief summary of your qualifications.
Certainly. I'm
licensed professional engineer and professional planner in the state of New Jersey, principal of Fletcher Engineering, and have been for 32 years. I've been accepted in numerous board of adjustment and planning boards throughout New Jersey. I've been in Edison too many times to count, unfortunately.
And your licenses are current and in good standing?
Yes, they are.
Okay, and do you want to be qualified as an engineer and a planner?
Yes.
Okay, all right, you will be qualified. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nipun Bhai Patel, and Mr. Fletcher is going to explain my case.
Yes, Mr. Patel is in the process of having a new home constructed at 28 Timber Road. It's located in the RA zone. It's known as Lot 89 in Block 643. It's a 23,000 square foot lot. It has one nonconformity with regard to lot size, and that is lot depth. It's 138 feet versus the 150 that's required in the RA zone. He is requesting 2 variances. He has a proposed deck that is 36 feet high. And he has another deck that is 18 inches high. The Edison ordinance requires any decks over 2 feet to comply with the required setbacks for the principal building. This deck is behind the house and extends to within 38 feet of the rear yard. So that is one variance that is being requested. The other variance is the ordinance allows a certain percentage of lot cover by decks. In the RA zone, we're allowed 3%. The applicant is proposing 5.7%. I would point out that total impervious by lot coverage by all impervious. Now the decks are not impervious because they have slats between them that allow drainage. But had this been a patio instead of a deck, he would be well within the total impervious and there would be no issue here. But he prefers to have a deck as opposed to a patio. He has a pool, an existing in-ground pool in the rear yard. He would like to have this deck so that his family can enjoy the outside rear yard. He is also proposing a solid 6-foot fence surrounding the rear yard that will buffer from adjoining properties. This deck would not be visible from the street and essentially not visible because of the solid fence around the perimeter. I don't think that this would be a detriment to the zone plan or the master plan. I don't see it as being any detriment to the neighborhood. I would request that the board allow this variance to be granted.
Okay, Mr. Fletcher, I'm going to kick things off with questions. So you had testified that the first deck is 36 feet high. Did you mean 36 inches?
I meant 36 inches.
I was going to say we can get an extension ladder to get to it.
Yeah, no.
Okay, all right. So I just want to make sure the record is clear on that. And then we will go out to the board if the board has any questions for Mr. Fletcher.
Mr. Chair?
Ms. Chabra.
Mr. Fletcher, are they both new decks that are being proposed?
I beg your pardon?
According to the site plan, are they both new decks that are being proposed?
Yes.
Okay, do we have like an architectural plan of each individual one or of the decks that are being proposed?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay, and how many square feet are these 2 decks that are what you're requesting the variance for?
About 1,200 square feet,
1,200 each,
1,200 total.
1,200 total, okay. Is there any reason why it's so high as far as the square footage goes?
It's quite a large lot, and it's an area that the Patel family would like to enjoy the outside on the deck. That's the purpose of it.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Vice Chairman.
Yes, so the proposed deck of 36 inches high is attached to the dwelling unit, and then the proposed deck 18 inches high is attached to the 36-inch deck.
Yes, so there's two
So,
steps
and
down.
then the setback is 60 feet, and you have 38 feet. So that's got to get reduced. Can you reduce that down, that setback? On the 18-inch high deck? Because that,
But the 18-inch high deck is not in violation of any setbacks.
the way I look at it is.
The 18-inch deck, any deck that's less than 2 feet does not have to comply with setback requirements. It's when the deck exceeds 2 feet that it must, tell me if I'm wrong, Jim, that it must then comply with the principal building setbacks.
Mr. Fletcher, you read my mind because I was just going to turn to Mr. Ayotte.
We're in kind of a quandary here. You're correct on the 36-inch deck. That has to follow the principal structure setbacks. However, the 18-inch deck, I'm interpreting the code that it follows the accessory structure setbacks, which would deem the deck to be 20 feet from the rear yard setback. Currently, it's at 10 feet, but it's at least, it's not at 60 feet. I'm not considering it part of the principal structure. It's a little, we got to go a little bit around here, but I'm not trying, it doesn't qualify for a principal structure setback, the 18-inch deck.
Understood, yes.
So we would take it from the edge of the deck to the rear yard. And for accessory structures in the RA zone, 20 feet is required as the minimum. So by my by the rule, by my calculations, he's at 10 feet from the rear yard setback. If the board considers it an accessory structure.
I'm looking at my zone chart. I'm seeing accessory building setback side and rear of 10 feet. Am I incorrect there? We're talking RA zone.
Yes, correct. Yeah, I stand corrected. 10 feet, correct. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
So in that case, the 18-inch deck is fully conforming,
Fully compliant
with the exception of area.
of the 36-inch deck.
Yeah,
Correct. Good.
thank you.
Thank you for clarifying.
We'll never doubt you, Mr. Fletcher. Thank you.
You got me on that one.
Believe me, it's
Paul,
always
thank you.
worth checking.
No, I'm absolutely, I agree. Any other questions for Mr. Fletcher?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Dave?
So, Mr. Fletcher, the corner from where the 36-inch deck is, where you have 4 steps and a single step, from that corner to the property is 38 foot, correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Any other questions, Mr. Fletcher? Okay, seeing none. You have anything else to add?
No.
Okay. All right, so we will now go out to the public. Anyone within 200 feet of the subject site wanting to be heard, if you're within 200 feet of the subject site, you've received a notice via certified mail.
Hi, my name is Khwaja Ali.
Our attorney will swear you in, sir.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And state your full name and your address.
Khwaja Ali, 3952 Park Avenue, Edison, New Jersey.
Please spell that.
Khwaja Ali, Ali.
And you're within 200 feet of the subject site?
I'm just a little over 200 feet from
Okay, then you cannot come, you could testify, but we call for people within 200 feet of the subject
I'm
site. So,
sorry.
no, it's no problem, it's no problem. Okay, just I think step back. So anyone within 200 feet of subject site wanting to be heard? Ma'am? Please approach.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And please state your full name, providing your address.
Yes, my name is Lisa Batardi, and I live at 23 Timber Road.
And you could bring the microphone down so you're a little more
Sure,
comfortable.
I'm short.
No, it's okay.
I came here because, you know, they can do what they want with the deck, okay? I'm not really objecting. I guess it's just that I watch them bulldoze. I've been an Edison resident since I grew up in Edison. I've been here for 59 years. I lived on Timber Road for 59 years. And what I just don't like is that there just doesn't seem to be any aesthetics to this house. It looks like a hotel in the middle of our neighborhood. I know it's a little late in the game for me to be saying this, but when I got this letter, I just felt like it was my time to just say my piece. And I don't wish any ill. If they want to build their deck, they can build their deck. It's just that there was no consideration. The house seems to be closer to the street. I knew the person who lived there previously. He owned a garden center, and he had the property beautiful, and I watched them bulldoze it. So I'm not very happy about some of the things that are going on in Edison Township. I've been a longtime resident, and these houses are huge. And one of the charming things about North Edison.
Ma'am, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Rachel, can you just pause our timer? So the way that this works is it's not, and this isn't a council meeting, so we can't go on issues that are not related to the site, and actually we cannot go on to issues that are not related to this project as it relates, which is just the deck. It's not the home itself. It's just limited itself to the deck.
Thank you, and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else within 200 feet of the subject property wanting to be heard? Okay, is there anyone outside 200 feet of the subject property wanting to be heard?
Can I go back and answer a question?
Mr. Ali, you've already been sworn. You're at 39 Park?
3952 Park Avenue.
Okay, and you can bring the microphone up now. There we go. Okay, you may proceed.
I'm just aware of the fact where they're building the house and stuff like that. But I just want to point out what I think was missed out, that because I know this house for a very long time, and that lower deck was a pre-existing deck. This is not the only thing which is new, is the new deck, which is now attached to the pre-existing deck. The lower 18-inch deck is a pre-existing deck. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else within outside 200 feet of subject property wanting to be heard? Last call. Seeing none, can I get a motion to close the public portion?
Motion to close public portion.
Second.
Motion made by Vice Chairman O'Gorman, seconded by Mr. Patel. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Public portion is now closed, and I'll go to the board.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Dave.
I make a motion to approve this application. Applicant will comply with engineer's report and any building codes. It's a de minimis request. It is not detriment to the neighborhood, not out of character with the neighbors.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Dave, seconded by Mr. Patel. Roll call, please.
Mr. Chhabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Cerrito?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Barone?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Patel?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. DeVay?
Yes on the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes on the motion.
And Chairman Kumba?
Yes on the motion. You have unanimous approval, 7-0. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, next case on the agenda, please.
Case number Z8 2023, Nirali Patel at 2116 Oak Tree Road. Applicant is proposing preliminary and final site plan and seeking bulk and use variances to demolish the existing single-family dwelling and construct a two-story office with parking lot. Standards have not been met in accordance with master plan. Combined side yard setback required is 30 feet, proposed is 25. Rear yard setback required is 60 feet, proposed is 25 feet. Maximum floor area required is 25%, proposed is 0.16%. Affected property is located in the OS zone, designated as block number 425, lot number 7.27 on the Edison Township tax map. All notice and paperwork is in order.
Mr. Shire, you may approach. I don't know if you're waiting for your entrance music or what, but let's roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Bernard Shire of the firm of Convery, Shire, representing the applicant owner, Nirali Patel, regarding property located at 2116 Oak Tree Road, block 425, lot 7.27, in the office service zone. Presently, the property contains a vacant, rundown, single-family residence. The proposal is to erect a new two-story professional office building, which is a permitted use in the zone. There are variances required, floor area ratio, and some bulk variances. The project contemplates a great improvement of the property in question in a zone that is becoming increasingly more office as opposed to residential, although residential is still permitted. I have this evening Mr. Paul Fletcher, professional engineer and professional planner, and our architect, Nahal Javeri, who designed the building. And unless there are any preliminary questions, I'm going to call Mr. Fletcher as soon as he walks back in.
Does the board have any preliminary questions for Mr. Shire? Seeing none, you may proceed. Sure, not a problem. You could do that, and you could just bring a microphone over with you. Something I said? No. You know, I generally don't have that effect on people, except it's a holiday. I don't think if it's a holiday, but
All right, I'll call Paul Fletcher.
Right hand, do solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
State your full name.
It's Paul J. Fletcher.
Mr. Fletcher, you were previously accepted this evening. There's been no change in the past 10 minutes to your qualifications, licenses.
There has not been.
That's good to hear. Then we'll accept you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just for the record, you want to be accepted as a engineer and planner?
Yes,
He'll be
please.
testifying in both capacities, Mr.
Thank you
Chairman.
very much. We'll accept you for both.
Mr. Fletcher, you were retained by the owner applicant to prepare the engineering site plan for this application.
Yeah, that's correct.
And could you please just briefly explain to the board what the current conditions on the property are?
Certainly. Well, first of all, the property known as 2116 Oak Tree Road, lot 7.27 in block 425. It's located in the OS zone. It has 12,856 square feet. It is 60 feet wide, 190 feet deep. It's currently improved with a single-family vacant, I'll say dilapidated structure. It was a single-family home. There's a fairly large asphalt parking area in front and at the rear of the home. The applicant proposes to demolish all existing site improvements.
Right, and Mr. Fletcher, could you please tell the board what is proposed for the property?
Certainly. The applicant proposes to construct a 35-foot wide, 58-foot long, two-story office building. Will be located towards the rear of the property. In the front area of the property, a parking lot will be constructed with a total of 13 spaces plus one EV credit, providing a total of 14. It's fully conforming to the parking requirements for the OS zone for professional office use.
Right, and will this have any impact on drainage or any of the other types of effects that a new building would have on the property in question?
Well, that has been addressed. The existing topography allows the most of the water to drain to the rear. We're slightly changing the drainage pattern. Much less will go to the rear. The majority of the runoff, and certainly all the impervious and roof runoff, will be directed to an on-site storm system. We will be providing some underground detention in the form of pipe storage, and that will be released to an outlet structure to an existing inlet in Oak Tree Road. So we'll be balancing the pre and post development runoff rates so as not to create any adverse effects off-site.
Right, so there will be no adverse effect from runoff or drainage based upon what you've put in place on the plan, correct?
That is correct.
Right. Now, with regard to the parking lot, how many spaces will there be?
A total of 13 with one EV credit, so net spaces of 14.
And is that adequate for a professional office building in the zone as it's intended to be?
Yes, the parking requirement is 1 space per 300 square feet. Total required is 14 spaces. We're providing 14 spaces.
All right, and has some landscaping been provided for as well?
Yes, extensive landscaping. The whole perimeter of the parking area will be heavily landscaped with trees and shrubs. There'll be an 8-foot fence at the rear yard and wide-spreading evergreens planted. Quite a extensive landscaping.
And that is all shown on the site plan, correct?
Yes, it's all shown on the landscaping.
All right. Now, several variances are required. Could you please just explain what those variances are?
Certainly. There's 2 existing nonconformities. Firstly, lot area in the OS zone, 20,000 square feet is required. 12,856 is existing. Minimum lot width, 100 feet is required in the zone. 60 feet is existing. There are a number of variances that we are proposing. Firstly, side, individual, and combined. Minimum side yard setback is 15, combined is 30. We're proposing 12 and a half, combined 25. Secondly, rear yard setback required is 60 feet. We're proposing 25 feet. We're proposing a pylon sign at the front of the freestanding sign in the front that would be 9 feet from the right-of-way line, where 15 feet is required. We are requesting a floor area ratio of 31.6%, where 25% is permitted in the zone. And lastly, we're requesting that no loading space be provided, although we are dedicating 2 stack spots for staff and deliveries, but no loading space per se, like a 12 by 48 for tractor trailers, which would not be needed to make deliveries to the site. But that is an ordinance requirement, which we seek relief from.
Right. Have you reviewed Mr. Bignell's comments in his review of the site plan?
I have.
And could you please tell me if the applicant can comply with his recommendations?
Yes, he can. Did you want me to address them individually?
If you would.
Yeah, I'll go through the plan review comments from Mr. Bignell. Firstly, in paragraph A, he asked for outside agency approvals, such as Middlesex County freehold soil. If those are all pending or approved, and we will provide copies to the board. B, the ability of a Edison emergency vehicle to maneuver the site should be shown. There clearly is not room for a fire truck to turn around in this site. I would expect that if there was a fire, they would probably fight it from the street. However, they could drive straight in to get closer to the building. However, they would have to back out to exit the site. C, Mr. Bignell requests that the 2 side stacked parking to be dedicated for employees and delivery vehicles. A note has been added to the plans. D asks about refuse where to be stored and disposed of. We're showing a 4x8 enclosure, which will be fully fenced with self-locking gates, self-closing gates. On the left side of the structure, we don't expect a large amount of recycling and garbage to be generated by the offices. The intent would be to take the garbage and recycling containers, wheel them to the curb for municipal pickup. Mr. Bignell asked about the tree replacement plan, providing tree calculations which are on the current plan. I'll make sure they're all conforming. Mr. Bignell and G asked for a row of all-season parking lot screening shrubs between proposed trees on site frontage. That has been
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
excuse me. We have a new report dated April 24th, so I don't think you'll.
I'm sorry, I'm reading for the February 8th. I apologize. Do you have it?
I don't have that report.
Yeah, that was sent to you today. Skip. That was sent to you today.
Thanks.
If you go to like item F, I think that's where we left off.
Okay. Item F requests irrigation system to be provided. The applicant agrees to that. A note has been added to the plan. G talks about specific architectural regulations. I will leave that for the architect to address. Any rooftop equipment certainly will be screened. I know it has been added. And I asked for documentation to demonstrate compliance with the pipeline buffering ordinance. I have viewed the pipeline mapping for Edison and can verify that we're not within 75 feet of a high-pressure pipeline. I would ask a waiver from the board if it sees fit that we don't require getting letters from the pipeline companies themselves. They are sick of us sending them letters, and it's very difficult to get a response. However, I will be happy to put a letter to Mr. Bignell verifying that there is no pipeline within 75 feet.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Bignell.
I have no problem to the waiver, just as long as he signs and seals it
Will do.
with the letter, so that you got the responsibility of it, in case there is a problem.
Understood.
Okay.
And agreed. Jay, applicant agrees that any prior approvals would be abandoned if this proposal is approved.
Mr. Bignell.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to see if you were okay with all of Mr. Fletcher's responses.
Yeah, the only thing I had a little issue with, I couldn't find the dumpster location. If it's on the left side of the building, that's fine. I was having a hard time reading that plan and seeing that, so hopefully he agreed to it, so it has to be part of the approval, so.
Okay. And Mr. Fletcher, just to clarify, you had said that there wasn't it would be rolling cans out to the street?
That's correct. It's immediately to the left of the building. It's a 4x8 concrete pad enclosure.
Okay. All right. Mr. Bignell, you good?
I'm fine.
Thank you very much.
He still needs to do the planning testimony.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I agree. Okay, so we'll now go to the Delaware Raritan Report. Mr. O'Barrow.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening.
I don't know if Mr. Fletcher was going to agree in just as a blanket or wanted to go through item by item.
We would agree essentially with a blanket statement that we'll comply with the request in your report.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know if there was anything specific. He spoke to the relief that they're seeking regarding the loading zone, and most of the other comments are just minor in technical nature. And I believe Mr. Fletcher's familiar with, this board and the procedures that we typically request, so I would be comfortable with that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. O'Barrow.
Right, Mr. Fletcher, as a professional planner.
Actually, Mr. Shire, since you don't, I'm going to hold you up there. I'm going to go to the board if we have any engineering questions.
Oh, sure.
And then we'll put his planning hat on. Okay, so does the board have any questions for Mr. Fletcher with regard to his engineering testimony?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Abe.
what is the intended use of this office? Is it a medical use, or what's the intended use?
The main level, it is a physical therapy office, and the second floor would be open for rental, just a general office.
Okay. Do they require bulk delivery to come to the building on and off many times?
I'm sorry, what kind?
Does it require any kind of bulk deliveries?
No.
No. Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Abe. Mr. Brown.
Mr. Fletcher, the question I have has to do with parking.
Yes.
I see from Mr. Bignell's report that based on the square footage of your building proposed, 14 spaces would be required. It seems that there are 13 spaces included, including one handicap and accessible space and two EVCS spaces. But on your plan, the site plan, I see 11. So where's the other two?
Yeah, there's two to the right of the building. They're stacked.
Oh, behind the building?
No, beside it.
Side of the building.
Okay. Sorry about that.
He also has EV parking, and you get a space credit for each one.
It's sort of piggyback parking over there, so one car forward, they have to navigate that. Okay, I understand. Thank you.
And that's why it's reserved for staff and deliveries.
Speaking of, was another question I had, as a physical therapy office, you have 2 offices, exam room, staff room, therapy area, reception. How many employees do you envision working in that space?
I'm not qualified to answer that question, those questions.
I have the applicant owner present if you would like her to testify.
I just asked that question as in terms of how it impacts everything that we're talking about.
Yeah, it's going to be by appointment only, and frankly, she has been practicing next door for quite a while, and there are no problems with parking or overcrowding. But I do have her here if you'd like that on the record.
No, I'm satisfied with your answer.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Fletcher.
Wait a minute, we weren't done yet there, Mr. Shire. So, Mr. Fletcher, with regard on page 3 of your application, you had parking spaces required or 14, parking spaces provided is listed as 15, but you previously said there were 14 provided?
Yes, I believe, is that on the application?
Yeah, it's on page 3 of the application.
I don't have that in front of me. We could have counted 2 credits for the 2 EVs, whereas the state allows up to 10%, so I think we knocked it down to 1.
Okay, all right, so then you'll submit, if so approved, you'll submit a amended application just to reflect the 14.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Does the board have any other questions for Mr. Fletcher with regard to engineering?
Mr. Chairman?
Vice Chairman.
Yeah, on drawing A-1, you have a finished basement. What's going to be in there? What's the basement going to be used for?
Storage only.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, all right, thank you.
I would like to withhold Mr. Fletcher's planning testimony till after the architect puts on the record the building that he's proposing.
Certainly, without objection.
Call Mr. Javeri, our architect.
Can I take this one?
Yes.
Sure. Just make sure you put it back when you're done.
There, could you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I certainly do.
And please state your full name for the record.
Sure. My first name is Nehal, Nehal. Last name is Zaveri, Jhaveri.
Mr. Javeri, if you could just give us a summary of your qualifications, please.
Certainly. My name is Nehal Zaveri. I am principal at NJ Architecture, 250 West Main Street, Moorestown, New Jersey. That's by Cherry Hill. I've been practicing architecture for the last 15 years. I have licenses in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia, South Carolina. I have been at Edison board a couple of times, and a few months back also I was here.
And your license are current and in good standing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll accept you. You may proceed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Javeri, you were retained by the applicant and owner to prepare the architectural plans for this new professional office building, correct?
That is correct.
Could you please, for the board, describe the building you're proposing?
Thank you. Here we have 35 by 58 feet, 2-story with a basement office building, professional office building. It's a 35 feet basically facing the parking lot. This, what you see here is the rear side. This is the front side where we have parking. You have the entrance in the front of the building only. There you have a vestibule, basically it takes you upstairs, or you go down, go straight into the first floor area, the office area and the first floor therapy office area. As soon as you enter, you have the waiting area and you have the reception. You check in and you go towards the therapy area. You have a wide open physical therapy area with just about one exam room, two offices, and a small staff room. That's pretty much it. It's a pretty wide open space. From there, you can go to the basement. So basement is pretty much solely for the storage area, just in case if they need it from the physical therapy area, because we don't have a whole lot of space and it's a small footprint. Second floor, again, from the lobby area, you go straight up to the second floor. There's one staircase taking to the second floor. Right now, again, it's just going to be a vanilla box since we don't have any tenant or, if they intend to use it later. A2 is building elevations. To the left of it is the front elevation. Basically, it's very simple building. In a way, it is, in a sense, it's a box. But what we try to do is just to try to have some juxtaposition of materials at the front, so it has a good curb appeal. It is a transitional building, the way I would say it, between the contemporary and modern. You do have a brick facade, which has some angle to it, gives some character to the building. You have two materials mainly throughout the building. The front facade, you have the brick. Thank you. You have the brick and the cement siding right to it. And then you have a whole lot of glass on top of it, which basically brings in light to the stairwell and perhaps to the tenant area on the second floor. At the entrance, it's a covered entrance with a metal roof. Primarily, we see just earth colors towards for the building all around. When you turn to the right and to the left, again, the way we try to do is at least just have some break in the building with materials, just two materials and two different colors. So you do see somewhat of an interest all around, not just completely boxed or flat surfaces. To the rear, we didn't want to put too many windows also, of course. So on the second floor, what we have is we propose just minimal windows. On the first floor, it goes with function of the space on the lower level to bring in some more light also, but of course at the same time give some privacy. I want to go back to actually basement plan, if you don't mind. The basement has two means of egress. That's why you see these two staircases. One is the exterior staircase on the other side, and the one staircase that's in the front. So that's the one reason that I wanted to explain to you that we do have two staircases. There is a reason behind that, no other intention. It would be required by building code, and for me to have an internal staircase, it would be too much to come out and take away a lot of space from the floor area. That's why here the second staircase in the back, just for means of egress. I believe, I guess that concludes. Oh, by the way, the building height, that's the other thing. We do have about 12 foot from floor to floor. That's floor to floor, first floor to second floor, and second floor to the roof. About 4 feet parapet that we are considering. So all in all, from first floor to the top of parapet would be about 24 feet, 28 feet, my mistake. It would screen any rooftop units that we would have in the future. Yeah, that's it.
Right. That's the architect's testimony. If there are any questions from the board.
Does the board have any questions for Mr. Javeri? I have a question. So having reviewed Mr. Bignell's report, comment G, the OS zone has specific architectural regulations which require any new construction to maintain a residential appearance. I don't see what you're proposing having residential appearance. It clearly looks like an office building.
I hadn't seen that report. I'm sorry about that. I can say that, I mean, I don't want to be wise guy here, but it's a little modern, little contemporary stuff here. If I were to do a residential building, it would more or less will have slope roof. You're going to have fake roof in the front with some sort of a terrace in the back or flat roof in the back, where you're going to have to use it for mechanical units and all that. So at the end of the day, one of the characters that we wanted to follow also, again, I could have gone with the entire brick and all, but we are trying to bring in the brick and the siding, which is a cement siding, or stucco the building altogether, just the way that's 2 doors down. We have a corner building which is completely stucco and just bland. So we try to give some character to it also. Again, with flat canopy, instead of a flat canopy, you do have somewhat of a porch-looking canopy right around here in the corner that protects from the elements. So some of these things, that's what I can see as far as the residential characters are.
Okay. I don't agree with you, but okay. Any board have any other questions for Mr. Javeri? Okay, seeing none. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Recall Mr. Fletcher at this time.
Mr. Fletcher, you remain under oath.
Understood.
Thank you.
Mr. Fletcher, you've also been retained to give the planning testimony on behalf of the applicant in this matter. Is that correct?
That's correct.
From a planning standpoint, would you please discuss the justification for the granting of the various variances that have been proposed?
Yes, I believe both the C2 and C1 criteria apply to this application. With regard to C1 hardship, the lot is undersized by 7,200 square feet versus the 20,000 that's required. And it's also hindered in the fact that the lot width is only 60 feet as opposed to the 100 that's required in the zone. And I think that leads to some extent the reason we need many of the other variances. Side setbacks, although frankly kind of de minimis, we're looking for 12.5 versus 15 and 25 versus 30. It's a function of the narrowness of the lot, which is only 60 feet. I think the other variances, the other bulk variances can be granted under the C2 criteria where the benefits significantly outweigh the detriments. I think one of the main benefits here is we're taking an underutilized, frankly, eyesore of a property and putting it to efficient use with an aesthetically pleasing new building, providing adequate parking for the proposed use. And I see I see very little, if any, detriment to the public good or the master plan or the zone plan.
With regard to the floor area ratio, I am assuming that the lot size, which is pre-existing and we can't do anything about, would lend itself to the justification for that, correct?
Yes, partly. And clearly, if we had a conforming lot, we wouldn't be asking for a floor area ratio
and
variance. The floor area is a D variance, as we know, but it's not a true use variance, like a D1 or a D2. And what the board needs to understand or determine is, can this property adequately carry this extra square footage? And I would point to the fact that we have adequate parking. We're complying with the parking requirements. We're providing significant landscaping. And we're well under lot coverage by building. So I believe that the lot can carry this and allow this variance for FAR. I see no detriment, as I mentioned, to the public good or the zone plan or the master plan. I think it promotes a number of the purposes of municipal land use law, notably promotes the general welfare, providing new commercial space for employment in citizens of Edison, and we're providing an aesthetically pleasing facade and an improved appearance, which will be a benefit to the neighborhood. And clearly, I see no detriment from the requested variances.
And the proposed use is consistent with the office service zone?
Yes, it is.
As it exists. Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Nothing further.
Does the board have any questions for Mr. Fletcher with regard to the planning testimony?
Mr.
Mr. Brown.
So, Mr. Shaw, right now your application suggests that the second floor, you don't have a tenant, and the basement, finished basement, is going to be for storage. So both areas at this point are storage?
I'm sorry, what is?
Basement and second floor, at this point, you're planning, or your applicant is suggesting it's going to be for storage?
Well, the basement is definitely storage. Second floor, we would like to have a tenant. You know, it's not being proposed as just a storage area.
Okay, and you know you would have to come before the board, or at least before zoning, when you have ideas on the second floor tenancy or whatever.
Well, not, I don't believe so if it's a tenant that's permitted under the zone.
Okay.
Of course, if we wanted a use that was not permitted, we would have to come back before this board.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. Shaw.
Does the board have any questions for Mr. Fletcher with regard to his planning testimony? Seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Fletcher.
Thank you.
That is the applicant's case.
Mr. Shire, is it possible, I have two questions for the applicant. Is it possible to call the applicant?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Call Nirali Patel. You can sit right here.
So would you raise your right hand?
Oh, sure.
Solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And state your full name for the record. Yes. Thank you.
Sure.
State your full name, please.
Yes.
State your full name.
Nirali Patel.
And Ms. Patel, I just have two questions for you. Your proposed hours of operation for the first floor?
9 to 7.
Okay. And then patients arriving, would they be arriving by a personal vehicle or a van, a bus or a van or any?
Personal vehicle.
Personal vehicle? Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Does the board have any questions for the applicant? No?
Yeah.
Mr. Dave?
I'm sure I'm hearing a testimony for the reception, how many people are going to be in the occupant would be in the building at any given time, no?
Go ahead, Mr. Dave.
Right, so how many occupants you are expecting at any given time in the building? How many? You have receptionists probably, how many therapists, how many patients at any given time?
So far, one receptionist, one physical therapist, and one assistant. So employees
One
around-
receptionist, one therapist,
and
one assistant therapist?
assistant. Yep.
And then how many patients you can treat them?
2 or 3 patients in an hour.
2 to 3. Any other visitors you are expecting?
No.
So at any given time, you'll have no more than 6?
No.
So one receptionist, one therapist, one assistant therapist, 2 or 3 patients. So any given time, no more than 7 people would be in the building.
Yes.
All right. And then if all 7 come with their own personal vehicle, there will be 7 vehicles there with the employees and the patient.
Yes.
Okay. And the balance of the parking space that you have would be for the future tenant for the second floor?
Yes.
Okay, all right, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Dave. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Patel, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Shire.
That is the applicant's case.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. All right, so we will now go to the public. Anyone within 200 feet of the subject site wanting to be heard should now approach. Members of the public will be allowed for 6 minutes for commentary. Aside from commentary, you may ask question of the applicant and the applicant's professionals. Your question should be asked at the beginning of your presentation. Once commentary begins, your timer will begin. So even if you're ask a question and you make a comment and say, I don't agree with that, your time will then begin. So any additional questions would then be on the clock. That being said, anyone within 200 feet of subject site. Sir?
Good evening. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And please state your full name, provide your address.
Walter Stoschel, Walter, Stochel, 2118 Oak Tree Road. Mr. Chairman, I haven't been to a zoning meeting in a while, and I'm not sure of the procedures. As an objector, I'd like to give the board, the applicant, and your experts information. It contains photos of the neighborhood property, views from my property, renderings of the property related to my property, and information on the master plan.
Without objection, so you can give Mr. Shire a copy and then hand the secretary a copy, and she'll distribute to the board.
And I have copies of my comments. Do I give them to you or just say it?
You could just say it.
This will be exhibited as 01. I just need to know how many pages we have.
Mr. Stoschel, do you know how many pages are within your packet?
Pages of what?
Pages of pages of.
I think it's 11. I don't know. I left my copy on over there.
Well, you can get your copy so we're all on the same page. Oh, it's two-sided.
It's a two-sided 11, but it is 11 pages, even with the two sides. Mr. Stoschel, you had prepared this document?
Yes. And it's the front page, I think, is number 1, and it goes to 11.
There are 11, you were correct.
Yeah, yeah. Let me see. I can ask a couple questions first, and then.
So you can ask questions first, then once you begin commentary, your time will begin.
There was testimony about the garbage. I want to know, is the project in the garbage district of the town? They said it would be township recycling and garbage pickup.
What is the question?
There was testimony that the garbage would be picked up by the township recycling and garbage, as in the garbage district.
And what is the question?
Who's going to pick it up? Is it going to be the township or a private contractor?
We believe it'd be the township. If the township doesn't, we would obviously get a private carter.
Okay, and the second is in Mr. Bignell's report, or the engineer's report. It talked about the fence around the property. I want to know if it's going to be 8 feet around the residential properties. I'm the resident to the west, and there's a resident to the north.
Whatever is required under the ordinance, we will comply with.
Okay. I object to this application, and the board should
Mr.
not.
Chairman, hold on.
And we're gonna hold it.
Hold on one
Hold this
second.
timer.
It's me.
Mr. Bignell.
I think, Mr. Stolzer, I believe your property is in the same zone, so that wouldn't require an 8-foot fence. But if it is going to be an office to a residential property, you may want to consider placing an 8-foot fence if that would help him with his privacy.
Mr. Shire, would your client agree to an 8-foot fence?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, Mr. Stoschel, do you have any more questions before I let you roll to your commentary?
That's it.
All right, you have the floor.
I object to this application, and the board should deny it. The project is detrimental to the master plan and zoning ordinance, exceeds the floor ratio area by 35%. It has a backyard setback violation of 35 feet and 2 side yard violations of 2.5 feet. It needs a sign variance, a loading zone waiver. These variances increase the existing nonconformity. The lot can't be made wider or bigger, but the building can be made smaller and relocated to fit the envelope. The building is not a residential-looking building, and 80 feet of parking in front doesn't look like a residential site. It violates the purpose of the OS zone, which says the purpose of these districts is to provide a reasonable use of land for non-residential purposes, at the same time maintaining a residential presence. Also, the development character of these districts, in most instances, was residential in appearance. Most buildings were originally constructed as single-family homes. In this context, any new or altered construction shall be designed to maintain a residential appearance. The project violates the objectives of the 2003 master plan and 2011 re-examination report. Objective 2, encourage well-designed non-sprawl land use patterns that are consistent with established neighborhoods and land use patterns while preserving the community's suburban landscape. Objective 4, encourage consistency of scale and spatial patterns between new development consistent to the scale of established land uses while preserving the character and development nature of the existing neighborhoods, and promote densities which consider vacant land. And 6, discourage deviation from established land use patterns that would permit incompatible or conflicting land uses from being developed adjacent to one another. This is not consistent with the neighborhood land use patterns. It's not consistent with the scale of the neighborhood, and does not preserve the character of the existing neighborhood. This will create a deviation from the front yard setbacks along the street. From the street, this neighborhood will now look like a smile missing a tooth. The 80-foot deep parking lot in front deviates from anything in the neighborhood and is not encouraged by the township. The Clara Barton redevelopment plan calls the elimination of front yard parking, and it says, location of parking facilities, all on-site parking shall be located in the rear of each property. The parking is so tight they have to shoehorn 2 stacked parking spaces on in the right yard setback next to the front door, causing conflict with cars backing in and out and people walking in and out. In the front of the building, the parking lot blends into the sidewalk, then the building with no barriers for vehicles to prevent parking on the sidewalk or driving into the building. Township Code 376062 says separation from walkways and streets, all off-street parking and off-street loading and service areas shall be separated from walkways, sidewalks, streets, alleys by curbing or other protective devices. When the neighborhood was all residential, all the houses had parking in the back. The ones that were now commercialized have parking in the back. 2116 has parking in the back. The 25-foot setback brings the building closer to the backyard of the single-family home, with a yard with a large patio and deck, and the house behind with a pool that can be seen from this building. The rear yard variance, if the rear yard variance FAR were granted, it will result in a cascading effect of the owners of 2118, 2120, 2114, 2111, 2107, and 2103 asking for the same, resulting in a non-residential looking corridor with oversized building full of visible parking lots, destroying the OS zone. The OS zone requires a residential look. The building does not look residential. With large windows, which on the plan are called storefront windows, they appear to be 8 feet tall, and there's an 8 by 8 feet second story window that looks out on the neighboring yards. cement siding and cement panels, it looks like a box, and I know of no resident in Edison that looks like that. On page 2, you will see my house and yard on the west side of the project. My backyard is 84 feet from the house to the rear line. On page 3, the view is from my backyard, which is like a garden. The previous owner of 2116 planted a row of arborvitae in the 1980s to block the view of the park landscape equipment. The trees are now 18 feet tall. This is where the 30-foot tall building will be, with 8-foot windows, 12 feet behind an 8-foot fence, and sidewalk, stairs, and retaining wall, and a trash enclosure. The existing buffer will be removed. That will be my new view. The trash enclosure is against this side of the building, making that part of the building side yard 9 feet. It says it'll be heavily screened, but it's not. It's going to be just a gate. While the trash container on my side is not heavily screened, the dumpster next door on 2114 will get a fence and vegetation buffer from this project. The landscape plan on 4 and 5, on my page 4 and 5, there is an oak tree straddling the property line in this location. It's not shown on the plans. I put a stockade fence around the tree. The tree is shown, the fence is shown straight on the plan, but the tree is not shown. How can you miss a big tree? And that's 65 feet from the rear of my property line. It's not clear what will happen to it since it's near where the proposed fence and retaining wall will be there. And on the site plan in the front, there's a 17-inch tree that is shown but is dead. There's also 2 spruce trees in the front that are not shown, appear to be bigger than 5 inches. The plan does not reflect the current conditions. There's a new fence along the rear lot and along lot 8.13. The bushes in front of 2114 are gone. And
Mr. Social, I'm sorry, your time is up.
thank you.
Thank you.
Can I give a conclusion? No?
No, I'm sorry. Is there anyone else within 200 feet of subject site wanting to be heard? Anyone outside 200 feet wanting to be heard? Sir?
Sir, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your full name and your address.
Sure. Ron Loeffler, 6 Nancy Circle, Edison, New Jersey, 08817. Loeffler.
You may proceed.
First, I'd like to say that I agree with everything that the previous objector has stated. I have some cross-examination questions for the architect.
Ms. Loeffler, could you just bring the microphone a little closer to you?
I'm sorry?
Bring the microphone a little closer to you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Hi. In your opinion, regarding the proposed architectural elevations that you've provided, would you characterize your exterior design as commercial or residential in nature and character?
That's why I said earlier that's transitional in between, right? So the materials, what we try to employ is, again, it's not just a stucco and things more in nature of commercial. So it is more of a transitional. Yes, because of the flat roof, probably you might think it's commercial looking.
So you would classify aluminum and glass storefront windows as transition between residential and commercial?
We do that for residential, contemporary residential buildings now.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you aware of the Edison regulation regarding the OS zone district and the requirement of having a residential presence? Or
Residential character presence, right. But we wanted to go one step further with that, certainly that, we can try and work out in such a way that modern houses do have those kind of appearances. So residence doesn't necessarily mean it has to have flat roof or just complete residential character, in my opinion.
Okay, when you were testifying earlier and the zoning board chair asked you about the appearance, I quote, "I didn't see that," is what you said.
No, his report, when he mentioned the report, that I didn't see that. I didn't see that report.
All right. In looking at your basement plan, there's an exterior entrance separate from the interior basement access.
Yes, sir.
Can this space, can the basement space be subdivided and used as future tenant space since it's a finished basement?
Not at all. We can put it in the requirements.
Hypothetically speaking, a finished space can be used as future tenant space,
So,
can't it?
yeah, no, you're right. But so when we mean by finished spaces, so these days, the requirements by the building codes are such that you need to have a lot of insulation in and around of the entire envelope. So the basement's gonna have insulation, whether it's on the outside or inside. In our case, we're gonna put it inside because outside surface is more exposed. So when you put all that, you need to cover that insulation with either with chipboard or whether you with the foil face. When you're doing all those things, certainly it's easy for you to just put a sheetrock on it. But that's why we say, insulate. We don't have to finish it if that's something that would make everybody happy, but certainly it's a storage space. That's for sure.
Okay. In your opinion, can the building be moved forward to keep it in context with the adjacent building setbacks?
It's not my...
Architecturally speaking, you're the architect.
Well, architecturally speaking, building could be moved anywhere, right? So I don't know, how to answer that, whether you can move it forward. Certainly, you can move forward, backward.
And if the building were moved forward, it can be designed such that the parking would be located in the rear yard, correct?
Again, sir, it's the civil engineer who can answer that, not me.
Well, I'm going to have questions for him also.
Sure.
That's all I have for now. The engineer, please.
Thank you.
How you doing, sir?
Good.
Same question, a little bit different though. Regarding the siting of the building on the property toward the rear, is it possible to move the building forward with parking in the rear to be consistent with the existing setbacks with the building to the left and the building to the right, given that the architect can redesign the building to accommodate this?
We looked at that, and we concluded that there wasn't enough space on either side of the building to have the ability to drive in both directions to get to parking at the rear. And clearly, just pulling the building forward without offsetting parking in the rear, we would lose a lot of parking. And that's why the decision was made to put the building where it is.
Okay, presently, this is lot 727, correct? 7.27?
Correct.
Presently, the applicant is renting at 7.28 right next door, which is a 52-foot wide lot, 54.72 wide lot, where you have a 71.14 wide lot, and there is access to get parking in the backyard of that lot, is there not?
I'm not familiar with the layout of the other lot or the size of the building.
All right, I'll save that for the applicant. Thank you. The architect indicated that the basement is finished and has its own separate entrance. Did you include the square footage of this potential tenant space in your FAR calculation, which would then increase to 0.47, and your parking calculation would increase to 21?
The basement was not included in the FAR, nor in the parking calcs because it's not intended to be tenant space, it's storage only.
Okay. Did you look at the architectural plan?
Yes.
Did it indicate that it's being used for storage?
I don't recall.
Can you take a look?
Did I or will I?
Can you? Would you?
Sure.
Mr. Left side one.
Mr. Fletcher, I'm going to need you to be on a microphone. Mr. Fletcher, I'm going to need you to be on a microphone.
Thank you. I'm sorry to make you.
Yeah, the architectural plan, it's labeled as finished basement.
And if the architect eliminated the outside access from the rear, would that preclude the square footage to be calculated as part of the FAR?
Could you repeat that question?
So at present, there's 2 access points to the basement. There's an exterior access point in the rear and an interior one from the first floor reception area. If the outside access was eliminated, would that help in reducing calculating the basement in the FAR?
The basement is not calculated in the FAR.
You're not calculating it, okay. Regarding the Edison EV ordinance, you're providing 2 EV spots. It states that electrical vehicle charging equipment shall be permitted in a front yard area subject to meeting all other setback requirements. How are you planning to comply with that? You're asking for side yard setbacks, rear yard setbacks. How do you plan on complying with the EV setbacks, the EV parking, when you're not complying with the setbacks?
Well, the setback variances are for the building. I don't believe we need any relief for the location of the parking.
All right, it's Edison Ordinance 14-7C. So, a few more questions, I promise. Do you believe the 2-story building, if the 2-story building were moved to the front of the property, it would have a lesser impact on the use and privacy of the residential neighbor that's to the west? You would either have a building that's parked there 24 hours a day or cars that leave after hours.
I'm sorry, say that again?
So if you would move the 2-story building to the front of the property, would the neighbor to the west be impacted less and have greater use and privacy of his home?
I'm not familiar exactly with where the neighbor to the west property is.
Directly, the next lot to 727.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the actual location of the building. We didn't survey that.
It's on page 1, on the top left corner.
Well, that's the radius map. It doesn't show the building itself.
I have a question. If he doesn't have an answer to the question, how do we?
If he can't answer the question, he can't answer the question. We're not going to
He's not
force it
gonna
out of him.
answer the question. All right, I'll move on. It appears there's double stacking cars on the east corner of the building. Does Edison zoning ordinances permit double stacking cars in a parking space?
In some areas of the ordinance that allows stacking, this is a choice for the planning board to make, or the board of adjustment to make. And this is a specific instance of, it's not public parking, it's reserved for staff and deliveries.
Okay. All right, that's all I have for you. Thank you. And I have a couple questions for the applicant.
Mr. Shar. Mr. Loeffler, you may proceed.
Thank you. I actually forgot the question I was going to ask her that the engineer couldn't answer. I apologize. Have you tried to obtain any adjoining property 2727 to lot 2727?
I didn't get that. Can you?
Have you tried to purchase, acquire any property to help reduce the floor area ratio?
No.
No? Do you know if any property is available in the area?
No.
No. Is your home address 1781 Woodland Avenue?
Yes.
Do you or any of your family members own any adjoining property to this lot? Or do you have any interest or financial interest in an LLC which is registered to your home address that owns adjoining property?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Loeffler. Anyone else outside 200 feet want to be heard? Sir?
Bruce Diamond,
Could you raise your right hand?
74 Calvert
Hold
Avenue
on,
West.
Hold on. Raise your right hand.
I
Do
thought you'd
solemnly
want to
swear-
know who I was.
No, you aren't. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And now you state your name and your
And
address
I'm
for the
still
record.
Bruce Diamond, 74 Calvert Avenue West, Edison. I'm a member of the Open Space Committee. I was on the Master Plan Committee for the past year. I always find it interesting when I'm here or I'm watching on television. I got to ask my questions first. I apologize. I don't hear very well. How many therapists are going to be working at the place? Just one
Ma'am, if you just be in the, ma'am, if you could answer the microphone. Actually, since we're talking about microphones, Mr. Diamond, if you just bring up the podium. There you go. Thank you.
He was coughing all over it. Jeez.
Yeah. One physical therapist.
That's why I'm talking on this one.
Just one therapist.
One therapist.
And then you have an assistant that works with you.
Yes, please.
Okay. And is the parking requirement, I guess this goes to Jim, is the parking requirement for a medical facility the same as general office?
No.
Straight out the microphone, please.
Is this not?
Sorry?
In the microphone.
No, it is not.
Is this
Different.
not a medical facility?
It is not.
No.
There's only, it is not, she's correct.
What's the difference between a physical therapy
There's
center?
only 3 medical professions that are considered. Medical, dental, and chiropractor. Those are your only 3 medical professionals.
Is the physical therapist, are you not a doctor?
Physical therapy is not,
therapist.
Well, I know plenty of physical therapists who are doctors. They're not MDs, but they are doctors.
They might be physiatrist.
Okay. I find it interesting, again, after watching these meetings for 30 years and being here sometimes, that an applicant buys whether it's a piece of residential property or commercial property, and they buy an undersized lot, and woe is me, I don't have enough room to fit a 4-pound bag of poop in a 3-pound bag. And that's kind of what you're doing here, no offense to anybody. Once again, we have an application before the board where the applicant buys a property in a specific zone and wants to build something too big and not conforming to the zone. This is a troubling application. The building is too big for the lot, and the second floor has unknown future tenant, so this floor is not needed for the therapy center. It's for an unknown tenant with unknown parking requirements. Mr. Bignell says it's general parking. What's the difference between general parking and medical parking? Well, I guess Jim answered that. How do you determine it? Does the applicant run a medical? Skip that part. The current location of Health Plus is a smaller building with an apartment, and it has a similar number of parking spaces. This project is a much bigger building and will have an unknown tenant on the second floor. The circulation on this site for parabuses, vans, ambulances is tight. I'm not even sure how many FedEx or DSL or Amazon trucks you're gonna fit in there. Across the street, Dr. Panica, the bus pulls in, drops off, and exits the driveway on Maryland Avenue. It's 80 feet from the first parking space to the door. That is way too far to walk if you're an elderly person. That's 80 feet, not at Dr. Paniker, but at this project. They're also in need of a loading zone for deliveries, a place for FedEx or Amazon to park. Even the mail truck would have to park to deliver the mail. And we don't know what deliveries the unknown second floor tenant will need, or if the so-called storage basement will be storing items from off-site. The stacked parking on the side is just another example of this site being overdeveloped. They could have pushed the building back another 9 feet and added spaces, which would have left 16-foot rear yard. 16 or 25, it does not matter to them as long as their oversized building is there. They don't care about the neighbors. Another example is the sign variance. It can't be placed where it's legal because it would be in the parking lot, not pushed closer to the road. The traffic report said there will be no problem because of gaps in the traffic from the light 700 feet away. I have been by the site when St. Thomas or Bishop R used to be lets out in the afternoon. There are a few gaps. Also, North Edison has a lot of traffic going in and out. The building does not have a residential look, as the ordinance says. I don't know where the picture is, but it's kind of like when you see those converted containers where they put windows in them, and that's what they're calling accessory buildings in some of these states at this point. There may be a property and building that is big enough for this use, but it is not this lot. There are also existing medical buildings in the area. Residents rely on the master planning zoning ordinance to protect their neighborhood and the community. The project clearly violates the master plan and zoning ordinance. I often find it, again, interesting. I said I was on the master plan committee. We wasted all the time talking about how silly Route 27 looks from Metuchen to Highland Park with all that ugly parking in front of all the retail shops. You're doing the same thing to Oak Tree Road. Well, what's the point here? You got rules. I'm sorry they bought an undersized lot. Buy what fits what you want or build an extra smaller or a smaller building. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else outside 200 feet want to be heard? Sir?
Sir, raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth so help you God?
I do.
And please state your full name for the record, providing your address.
Nick Fagan, 42 Edgewood Road, Edison.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would start my line of questioning about the certificate of completeness for this project. Is that complete and done? Mr. Attorney?
What are you asking?
Was the application certified complete through the TRC?
Ask Mr. Bignell, he's the one who does it.
We have a book, but you also get a copy, Skip, so that's not a fair answer. Do you have the book, Cassandra? I'm sure it is, because it wouldn't go forward unless it had a completeness letter.
Okay. If I could see a copy, that would be great. I'll continue moving on in the interest of time while the secretary retrieves that report. The reason I'm asking about the certificate of completeness is because in the information that I have in what Delaware Raritan report reviewed is that there are some reports that weren't listed and that they're missing. So was there a Department of Fire report submitted on
That
the
has
project?
nothing to do with completeness.
Okay.
He can ask for anything he likes in his report, but it's not a completeness item, so that's why it's not part of the certification.
Gotcha.
Okay? If they don't submit it, we ask the fire, we usually ask the police to respond. It's up to them to respond. We don't chase them around. They either do or they don't.
So
Do you have
did
a letter, Cassandra?
Yeah, March 5th, 2024.
Okay.
Okay, it does exist, thank you. So to the applicant then, through the chair, the Delaware Raritan report states pursuant to Edison 1655, emergency and access lanes 205, sections 205 through 138 and 316, fire lanes, drive aisles, and parking layouts should be reviewed for comment by the chief of the fire department and the chief of police of their designees. I believe that the applicant said that they would apply, that they would comply with those things, but that was not in the Delaware Raritan report. My question is that report is missing, and I believe...
No, what report is missing? Because just because the engineer asked for it doesn't mean that they have to do it. Do you see what I'm saying? We send the plan, I believe, we used to send it to fire. I don't know if we're required to do that, but I don't think did they comment? Is there a police report, do you know, or? It's just a condition of approval. Yeah, Will is from, he wrote the report, so it would be a condition of approval. So, if they granted.
Understand that, but I believe that the board, what I'm trying to express to the board is that the board should be asking for these reports and
So since you're expressing to the board, you're now starting commentary, so your timer is going to begin.
Is there a reason that the fire department didn't provide a recommendation? All right, that's a no. Mr. Architect, you had mentioned sloped roofs were characterized as residential appearance. What would you characterize as residential in this plan?
I need you to be on the microphone, sir.
Mike, excuse me, does this start the 6 minutes?
Yeah.
Yes.
What would you not if it's a modern house?
Are there any residential buildings in this neighborhood that share the characteristics of the building you designed?
I'm sorry, I haven't seen all the entire neighborhood, but I'm sure that a lot of them are traditional looking houses.
So your testimony is that this building does not match the residential nature of the rest of the neighborhood?
It's not necessary that it matches all of them. Some characters, as far as the materials are concerned, again, we try to bring it in here.
Okay. I don't see it, Bud. I don't see how this is a residential building.
I'm sure it's very subjective. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I think you...
Gentlemen, I'm going to ask that you talk one at a time because we have a court reporter that's trying to take a record of this hearing, and I will not accept people speaking over each other. So it's going to be one at a time, or you both will, neither of you will speak. You may proceed.
Sorry about that.
In terms of the planner, Mr. Fletcher, one of the points of the MLUL is point C, to provide adequate light, air, and open space. This building is 2 stories tall and 28 feet tall, I believe that was testified to. How long will the shadows cast to the neighbors throughout the year?
I don't know, but I would point out that we're complying with building height requirements in the zone. We have a de minimis side yard setback. So I think we are providing light, air, and open space.
The plan doesn't show a fire hydrant within 200 feet of the property. Is that correct? Is there a fire hydrant? Will there be a fire hydrant provided by the applicant?
There is no intention for the applicant to provide any fire hydrants, and I'm not sure where the nearest one is.
And Why was it not included on the plan?
Maybe, excuse me, Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Brunel.
maybe the question should be to the architect, will the building be sprinklered? Because that would be
Sure.
that
Will
would
the
be a
buildings
safer-
be sprinklered?
Yeah, that would be a better question.
Okay, I need you to,
Sorry, sir. No, it doesn't require to be sprinkler.
So, thank you. Copies of letters acknowledging the availability of service for electric, gas, and all other utilities should be submitted. Were they submitted? That's no answer from the applicant. I think the board should consider that there are no letters acknowledging this. Going on, materials, should materials be stockpiled on the site? The materials, those listed, they should be listed on the plans for review and approved. I do not believe that they're there. Is there a reason that they're not on the plans?
What type of stockpiling are you talking about?
If you're going to construct a building, you might have stockpiling of dirt and other materials. If you're going to do that, you need to provide them so that the board can consider that. Where I'm going with this, Mr. Chairman, is this plan is woefully incomplete. In addition to not being in character of the residential nature of the neighborhood and the OS zone and the corresponding properties, I would ask that you deny this application or postpone it until all of those answers of all of the things in the Delaware Raritan report are answered. There are numerous questions. There are dozens of questions in the Delaware Raritan report that I didn't even get to that aren't being answered by the applicant, were not answered by the applicant. And so I'm not sure how you can approve an application that is missing so much information, let alone is so detrimental to the zone and neighborhood and the character of Edison. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could?
Mr. Bear.
I would just like to speak to that. There was a number of items that were brought up, whether it's the fire hydrant, the stockpiling. Those were items that were identified, as he correctly stated, in our letter, but those are conditions of any board action we would consider routine. There was nothing of significant substance, and that would include the approvals listed at the end of the correspondence.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bear. Is there anyone outside 200 feet wanting to be heard? Seeing none, can I get a motion to close the public portion?
Motion to close public session.
Second.
Motion made by Vice Chairman O'Gorman, seconded by Mr. Patel. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The public portion is now closed. Mr. Shire, if you have any wrap-up?
Just essentially that this is a permitted use in the zone. As far as some of the comments, we meet the building height restrictions, we meet the parking requirements, and we will comply with the recommendations of the township engineering consultant and planning consultant. The idea that things are missing, these are generally considered to be conditions of approval. As far as stockpiling soil during construction, those are all part of building permit applications. And certainly before we even can get a building permit, we have to comply with whatever is contained in the resolution of approval. And the applicant, by the way, has no control over whether the fire department or the police department considers an application significantly enough to file a report. You have a permitted use in an office zone with other offices. This is not a gas station in a residential zone. And I believe that the testimony is sufficient to approve, since we are willing to comply with all of the requirements of the board professionals.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll now go to the board.
Mr. Chairman?
Vice Chairman.
I'd like to make a motion to reject this application. The standards have not been met in accordance with the master plan, and specifically the application with the parking in front of the building is not consistent with the neighborhood. The signage is the violation for the setback. And the OS zone has some specific architectural regulations which require any new construction to maintain a residential appearance. The testimony from the architect is that it does not meet this requirement for the residential appearance. Thank you.
Motion made by Vice Chairman O'Gorman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Chabra. Roll call, please.
Mr. Chabra?
Yes to the motion.
So yes to the deny. Okay. Mr. Cerrito?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Barone?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Patel?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. DeVay?
No on the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes on the motion.
And Chairman Kemba?
Yes on the motion to deny. This application is denied.
Denied.
Madam Secretary, is any other additional business to come before the board this evening?
That'll be all this evening.
Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Vice Chairman O'Gorman, seconded by Mr. Patel. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Board stands adjourned.
27.